accusations over the Trump video.
It represents exactly who he is.
And Clinton's emails.
You'd be in jail.
Hurricane Matthew leaves behind misery.
I don't have nothing left. Nothing.
Samsung reportedly suspends replacements of Galaxy Note 7 smartphones.
Is this the end of the troubled device?
Good morning, I'm Dave Barrett.
And I'm Stephen Portnoy in St. Louis with the CBS World News Roundup. There was no handshake at the start of last night's second presidential debate, just Donald Trump standing on stage next to Hillary Clinton with a decade-old videotape on the minds of everyone in the audience at the Town Hall Forum. CBS's Steve Futterman is here on the campus of Washington University.
The issue hanging over last night's debate came up in the opening minutes.
We received a lot of questions online, Mr. Trump, about the tape that was released on Friday, as you can imagine.
Donald Trump tried to explain his crude comments about groping women.
This was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it.
The Trump comments from 2005 came to light only on Friday. Since then, the Trump campaign has been reeling. Hillary Clinton dismissed the Trump apology.
He needs to take responsibility for his actions and his words.
And then things got really nasty as Trump began to talk about alleged mistreatment of women by Bill Clinton in the 1990s.
There's never been anybody in the history of politics that's been so abusive to women.
And inside the debate hall last night were several of Bill Clinton's accusers.
Trump was much more combative at this debate than he was at his first face-off with Clinton last month.
The people of this country are furious.
Trump went after Clinton on her use of a private email server.
You think it was fine to delete 33,000 emails? I don't think so.
He said he would appoint a special prosecutor to investigate.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Trump frequently tussled with the moderators.
I'd like to know, Anderson, why aren't you bringing up the emails? I'd like to know. Why aren't you
We
getting
brought up
to
the
bottom?
emails.
No, it hasn't.
No, answer the question.
Why
Do
don't
you
you
still
interrupt
believe?
her? You
I
interrupt
do.
me all the time. Why don't you
Would you
interrupt her?
please?
It's nice to 1-on-3.
And Trump even found himself at odds with his running mate over whether the U.S. should use military force against the Assad regime in Syria.
He and I haven't spoken, and I disagree.
Through the debate, Clinton repeated her argument that Trump is unfit to be president, even speaking of a Trump effect on the country.
Bullying is up. A lot of people are feeling, uneasy. A lot of kids are expressing their concerns.
Clinton said Trump's campaign is exploding as Republicans abandon him. The debate ended with a voter asking each candidate to say something positive about the other.
His children are incredibly able and devoted, and I think that says a lot about Donald.
She does fight hard, and she doesn't quit, and she doesn't give up, and I consider that to be a very good trait.
Now, with just over 4 weeks remaining until Election Day, Republican leaders will be on a conference call today. Correspondent Major Garrett.
They're still uncomfortable with many aspects of the Trump campaign, and they are not sure where Trump is heading in the future, either with his rhetoric about the Clintons or his overall orientation to the Republican Party after the events of the last 48 hours.
Billy Bush, who was on the 2005 Access Hollywood video, the one with Donald Trump, has now been suspended indefinitely by NBC's Today Show. Could be more flooding in North Carolina, especially in the area around Raleigh. CBS's Jim Crisula with the big picture.
Hurricane Matthew has left behind death, destruction, and flooding misery for thousands across the southeast.
This never been this flooded before.
I can't imagine what a storm stronger than this would be like.
If you live on the water, you got to live with it,
Much of eastern North Carolina is seeing flooding that parallels that of Hurricane Floyd in 1999. Hundreds of roads and bridges have been inundated, including parts of Interstates 40 and 95. Jim Crisula, CBS News, Lumberton, North Carolina.
19 deaths in this country from Matthew. About 1,000 people died in Haiti. More from CBS's Vladimir Duthier.
In the town of Jeremy, 80% of the buildings are damaged or destroyed. Jeff Gentil showed us what was left of his home.
Every time the wind would blow, you took all the children and you got on your knees and you would cover them.
More than 10,000 people are staying at this shelter, a school that is one of the few structures to have survived the hurricane. They tell us they've seen little to nothing in terms of help from their government.
With some overheating and fires reported from replacement Galaxy Note 7 smartphones, Samsung has now reportedly suspended production of those. Here's CNET's Dan Ackerman.
They really didn't have another choice right now if they can't identify the problem immediately. Samsung needs to convince people that it's taking the proper time and care and not trying to rush another set of replacement phones out too quickly before they figure out what the actual problem or problems are with these phones.
AT&T will no longer issue replacement Note 7s, and T-Mobile says it's temporarily stopping sales and issuing replacements. Major airlines have banned the Note 7s from being powered up or charged in flight. Overseas, an American destroyer in the Red Sea, the USS Mason, was targeted by 2 missiles fired from Yemen, apparently fired by rebels linked to Iran. Correspondent Vicki Barker with details.
The Navy says no one was injured and no damage was done. Last week, rebel rocket fire in the same area seriously damaged a swift boat leased by the United Arab Emirates. The Shiite Houthi rebels have been fighting to unseat Yemen's president. He's backed by Saudi Arabia, which in turn buys arms from the U.S. One reason the Navy ship could have been targeted.
A 22-year-old, Jabir al-Bakar, had been known to domestic intelligence experts in Germany that Syrian is suspected of planning a bombing in Germany, and now one police official there says he's believed to have contacts with ISIS. The Nobel Prize for Economics has been announced in Stockholm. 2 experts in Boston share it, Harvard's Oliver Hart and Bengt Holmström from MIT. Holmström got the word a couple of hours ago.
So I was very surprised. And I'm very happy, of course.
The pair's research could provide a foundation to design policy from political constitutions to bankruptcy rules. 3,000 Atlantic City casino workers will be out of work starting today. This evening, the Trump Taj Mahal Casino closed for good. KYW-TV's Cleve Bryan says during an employee strike that began this summer, casino owner Carl Icahn decided to shut it down.
They kept the Trump name because of the name recognition. He is no longer part of the ownership.
It's a makeover at Avon.
Avon calling.
Avon doesn't want to be your grandmother's makeup anymore. Now that the North American division has been spun off, Avon is looking for millennials to sell lipstick and perfume to pay off college debt. It's also targeting baby boomers who want to be masters of their own universe. To compete with Sephora, Ulta Beauty, even Walgreens, Avon sellers are getting their own e-commerce sites and help with online marketing. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Though he said he was rusty, New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady did throw for 400-plus yards and 3 touchdowns in his return to the team, winning over Cleveland. He'd been suspended the first 4 games of the season because of Deflategate. And that's the World News Roundup for Monday, October 10th. I'm Dave Barrett, CBS News.
Welcome to the Show Me Almanac for Monday, October 10th, 2016. I'm your armchair news reporter and presenter, Joe Hafner, with you, as I have the latest news and weather information of interest in northern and central Missouri. And we started this Monday off with mostly cloudy skies in the Kirksville area, with temperatures cooling off into the lower 50s. Looking at the weather forecast, there is a slight chance of light rain between noon and 2 o'clock today. Otherwise, we'll see variably cloudy skies with temperatures warming up into the upper 60s to lower 70s. South winds at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. And then a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout tonight, with an even greater chance of rain after 1 a.m. tomorrow. I'll have more details on the weather forecast coming up in just a few minutes. In the meantime, let's take a look at the community calendar for today. And a few items of interest to tell you about for the 10th day of October includes the Macon County Health Department office will be closed today due to the Columbus Day holiday. Also, the Dare County Health Department office, along with many other government offices, will be closed today due to the Columbus Day holiday. Coming up later this week, Fright Night movie at the Dare County Public Library is this Friday evening from 6 until 8. Join them for a spooky family Halloween movie. Stay in the library after hours and enjoy a flick. Lidded drinks and popcorn are welcome at 1 Library Lane in Kirksville. Call them Tuesday through the end of the week at 660-665-6038. Again, that's 665-6038. Also coming up later this week, the Countryside Christian Church is holding their 2016 Sportsman Banquet on Friday from 6 until 8 at the church on Boundary Street, just north of Troy Mills. This is a free community outreach that features a full meal, nationally known speaker Ralph Duran with Calls of the Wild, gun giveaway, and many other games and prizes will also be given away that night. There is no cost to attend. For more information, call Doug Reinsch at 342-6009 for more details about the event. Again, that's 660-342-6009. And coming up a week from this Saturday, the Adair County Mobile Food Pantry Distribution begins operations at 11 o'clock at the Hamilton Street Baptist Church. A number is required to receive food. Numbers will be given out starting at 9 o'clock that morning. To receive food, you must bring your photo ID, Social Security cards for each person living with you, along with proof of residency that you live in Adair County, and a bag, box, or basket to transport the food. And that's a brief look at the community calendar for this Monday. Now it's time for the latest local and regional news of interest in northern and central Missouri. And leading off the news for today, the Macon Police Department says the 34-year-old homicide victim is Ryan Perkins of Macon, Missouri. Macon County Prosecuting Attorney John Meisner charged 38-year-old Ray A. Holt of Macon with murder in the first degree, with bond set at $1 million cash only. Officers arrested a second suspect, but the individual was released Friday night. Holt remains in custody at the Macon County Jail at last report. Macon Police and the Macon County Sheriff's Office continue to investigate what led to Perkins' death in the 200 block of South Rollins Street late last week. Officers arrested Holt and the second individual after executing a search warrant on the 100 block of North Ruby. Macon County Coroner Brian Hayes ruled the death a homicide. Joe Hafter Media can now confirm the identity of the man found dead Thursday morning in a northern Moberly home. Moberly police say that officers discovered the body of 39-year-old Kevin McHouston of Boonville after firefighters put out a small fire in a home at the corner of Highway 24 and Calhoun Street. Officers say that McHouston was found dead and appeared to have suffered a gunshot wound. Randolph County Prosecuting Attorney Mike Fussman has filed formal charges against 28-year-old Joseph L. Kurtz. Those charges include first-degree homicide, armed criminal action, being an accessory to burglary and arson, unlawful possession of a firearm, and tampering with physical evidence. Kurtz's bond is set at $500,000 cash only. Police say their investigation is continuing. Various law enforcement authorities say some special deliveries of meth and marijuana were part of an investigation that landed 2 Brookfield, Missouri residents in federal custody. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Kansas City announced that Cecilia L. Spath and Charleston B. Leach, both 31 years of age, were indicted on 4 drug-related counts by a federal grand jury last Tuesday. The next day, the Brookfield Police Department took them into custody. The 2 accused are alleged to have conspired to distribute more than 500 grams of methamphetamine between March of 2014 and May of last year. They are also charged with possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute. Leach faces an additional charge of using the U.S. Postal Service to distribute the drugs. But the trouble doesn't end there. While taking Spath and Leach into custody Wednesday afternoon, Brookfield police officers obtained another warrant after they said they found marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Police said that led to the recovery of counterfeit money as well. The case was investigated by the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, the North Missouri Drug Task Force, the Kansas City Police Department, and the Northeast Missouri Drug Task Force. At last report, the search is still underway for a missing motor vehicle in Kirksville. A 2006 white Dodge Charger was reported stolen from a residence in the 1700 block of East Washington Street. The owner of the vehicle says he noticed the vehicle missing from his driveway around 8 o'clock Friday morning. The last time he saw the car was Thursday night at around 11 o'clock. The Charger has a license plate with the number FK4 A8V. Again, that's FK4A8V. If you've seen the vehicle or have any information on its whereabouts, please contact the Kirksville Police Department. A Rocheport man sustained moderate injuries in a one-vehicle accident in Howard County Friday morning. Highway Patrol says the accident occurred around 8:40 on Route EE, about a half mile west of County Road 415, when 76-year-old David Thomas ran off the right side of the road, overcorrected, crossed the center line, then ran off the left side of the road and struck a fence before hitting two trees, which stopped the vehicle. An ambulance transported Thomas to a Columbia hospital for treatment. Meanwhile, 2 individuals sustained moderate injuries, and 4 other individuals sustained minor injuries including 2 toddlers, in a Boone County crash Thursday night. State Highway Patrol says that 30-year-old Kristen Statz of Columbia struck 16-year-old Abigail Howard of Hallsville as Howard attempted to cross Route WW at Rangeline Road around 8:30. Both drivers sustained minor injuries and were taken to a Columbia hospital. Both of Statz's 2-year-old sons sustained minor injuries and were taken to a Columbia hospital in a private vehicle, I should say. An ambulance took another passenger, 37-year-old Luke Stewart of Columbia, to a Columbia hospital for treatment of moderate injuries. Howard's passenger, 17-year-old Michael Martin of Ashland, was also taken to a Columbia hospital for treatment of moderate injuries. Deputies with the Boone County Sheriff's Department arrested a Columbia man on suspicion of promoting child pornography. The department's Cyber Crimes Task Force arrested 33-year-old Adam Singleton at his apartment Wednesday, following a 3-month-long investigation. According to the task force's release, investigators say they received a tip in July that someone in Columbia had used a chat room to upload child pornography. An investigator pinpointed the activity to an apartment that deputies say was Singleton's. At last report, he's in the Boone County Jail with bond amount and charges pending. A Glasgow manufacturer has announced plans to more than double its workforce in the next 12 months. American Discovery Textile Manufacturing announced last Thursday it will add 38 positions to its operations, expanding into third-party production, assembly, and packing. ADTM was founded in 2008 following the closure of a sleeping bag manufacturer. The company currently employs 26 people. At least $1.7 million in state and federal community development grants will help fund the expansion, which includes infrastructure improvements for ADTM's facilities and the immediate area. And finally, in local and regional news of interest in northern and central Missouri for today, an Illinois man sustained serious injuries in a Marion County accident Thursday afternoon. Highway Patrol says that just after 2 o'clock, 64-year-old William Rentz of Hillsboro, Illinois, lost control of his vehicle on the wet surface of Highway 61 at the north junction of Highway 24 while heading northbound, went off the right side of the road, overturned, and struck a tree. Rentz was flown to a local hospital for treatment of injuries. Coming up in just a few moments on this edition of the Show Me Almanac, we'll have a complete look at the Kirksville area weather forecast, as well as a sneak peek at the community calendar for tomorrow. Right now, it's time for the latest from Missouri Net News.
Missouri Net News is presented by the Missouri Department of Labor's Shared Work Program, a program to help businesses and workers make it through the slow times. Learn more about this alternative to layoffs at sharedwork.mo.gov.
Missouri Net News, good morning. I'm Jason Taylor. Before the presidential candidates debated in St. Louis, their economic advisors faced off yesterday afternoon at Washington University. Despite being about economic policy and projections, both advisors sounded a bit like their bosses throughout the event. Peter Navarro, a business professor and best-selling author, took aim at his opponent, Gene Sperling, who has advised the past 2 Democratic presidents.
You don't get trade, Gene. You guys are just screwing it up time after time after time with these bad trade deals. And it's because the people who go in and negotiate these things essentially don't know what they're doing.
Sperling calls Trump's economic policies, quote, magical.
If you believe that Donald Trump, by threatening a 35 or 45% illegal tariff increase on every country, will make the imports disappear and that there'll be manna from heaven and that everything will be solved, you should vote for Donald Trump.
On the campus of Washington University, observers inside and outside the debate hall reacted. Todd Hollins from St. Louis saw the debate firsthand as a member of the audience. He says he's a Clinton supporter, but wanted to hear more from both of them.
I really wanted to hear what are they going to do to bring the races together. America has a bad history with several hundred years of slavery. We've never, fixed that, and that I would have loved to have heard more of a discussion on that.
There were hundreds of audience members watching the 40 town hall participants, again at Washington University that last night. The percentage of students eligible for free and reduced price lunches in local school districts in southeast Missouri has inched up to over 60% in 2016. That's according to the State Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. One of Missouri's most prominent business organizations is trying to spotlight money its opponents are spending in the upcoming election. The Missouri Chamber's Money Trail page on its website tracks donations to candidates by trial lawyers and labor organizations. Chamber President Dan Meehan says his organization thinks the stakes are high.
Do you want policy dominated by trial lawyers who make money off suing job creators, or by organized labor who's trying to protect the status quo and prevent Missouri from being a right-to-work state?
The Missouri Association of Trial Lawyers declined to comment for this story. We were unable to reach labor leaders for response. The Macon Police Department says a 34-year-old homicide victim from last week is Ryan Perkins of Macon. The county's prosecuting attorney charged 38-year-old Roy Holt of Macon with first-degree murder with a $1 million cash-only bond. Officers arrested a second suspect who was released Friday. Law enforcement agencies are still investigating the cause of Perkins' death, which has been identified as a homicide by the county coroner. Jason Taylor, Missouri Net.
Missouri Net Sports, I'm Bill Pollack. The Chiefs had the week off. They're 2-2. They sit behind both the Raiders and Broncos, who are tied for first in the AFC West with a 4-1 record. The Raiders were down 17-9 early in the third. They came back to beat San Diego 34-31. And Atlanta beat the Denver Broncos 23-16, an upset that I predicted. And now the Chiefs will travel to Oakland this Sunday. College football from the weekend. Missouri State grabbed a 3-0 lead, but number one North Dakota State was too much. The Bears lost to the Bison 27-3. Missouri State turned the ball over 4 times and rushed for just 30 yards. The Bears will host Western Illinois on Saturday. SEMO lost their first conference game, losing at Eastern Kentucky 31-16. The Redhawks fumbled 5 times and lost 2 of them. SEMO is now 3-24 lifetime against EKU. They now have a bye week. Division II make it 21 straight for Northwest Missouri State. A 56-10 win over Central Oklahoma. Kyle Zimmerman threw 5 touchdown passes. The Bearcats have never scored fewer than 41 points in their 6 wins this year. Southwest Baptist in Bolivar was nationally ranked for the first time in school history. The 20th ranked Bearcats lost to Truman State 26-16, snapping their school best 7-game win streak. The win for Truman State moves them in the sole possession of first place in the Great Lakes Valley Conference with a 4-0 record. The Blues wrapped up preseason play with a 2-1 win over Chicago on Saturday. Goalie Jake Allen suffered an apparent injury to his left leg in the first period. He finished the period but did not return. Coach Ken Hitchcock wouldn't provide any other details. If Allen can't play, Hitch has no problems with backup goalie Carter Hutton.
He's been outstanding since the time he put on the pads here. He's been great at practice. He's been great in the games. He's just been outstanding. Best player.
The Blues open the season Wednesday in Chicago, then return home Thursday against Minnesota and Saturday against the Rangers. Bill Pollack, Missouri Net Sports.
Meet Pam and Bob. As a Touchstone Energy Cooperative representative, Pam's answered Bob's questions for years.
I've got a good one today.
Bring it on, Bob.
Why do I keep getting calls about going in the solar power business?
You know what? They called our house, too.
Huh, that had to be weird.
Yeah, a little. Just make sure to contact your local electric co-op before signing anything, like you did.
Learn more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Discover the value of your co-op membership. Visit membersfirst.coop today.
It makes dollars and good sense to take advantage of smart options from AMVAC in 2017. From AMVAC soil insecticides that deliver broad spectrum control of rootworms and seed-attacking pests in any type of corn you buy, you get the control you need with a specific hybrid that fits your operation. To Impact Herbicide, the standard in corn safety for proven control of glyphosate-tolerant weeds and tough grasses in all corn hybrids. Talk to your ag retailer about smart options from AMVAC. AMVAC granular insecticides are restricted use pesticides.
Across our wide Missouri with Bob Priddy. Listen to show archives, hear about this day in Missouri history, and learn more about the Show Me State by visiting MissouriNet.com today.
The yellow Wright EX Flyer hangs in the Air and Space Museum in Washington. The green letters on the underside of its lower wing spelling the name of the grape soft drink Vin Fizz. Visitors see it from a perspective similar to that of Missourians in 1911, when many saw their first airplane making a historic flight. The story after this.
Drive it home with Special Olympics Missouri. Purchase your $5 Drive it home ticket today for your chance to win a 2016 Ford F-150. Each ticket sold gives Special Olympics Missouri athletes a chance to succeed on and off the field. Visit somo.org/win and get your Drive it home ticket today. Winner will be drawn on November 25th, 2016. Must be present to win. Winner responsible for all taxes and licenses. For complete rules, eligibility, and prize information, visit somo.org/win.
How do you avoid this? By paying attention, by using your turn signals, by remembering that semi-trucks have bigger blind spots than you do, and that you must stay out of those areas where the driver can't see you, also called the no zone. You can avoid a crash by pulling over when you are tired, and you can save lives by buckling up. How do you avoid this? By driving smart. To learn more, visit SaveMoLives.com. Brought to you by the Missouri Coalition for Roadway Safety.
Calbraith Perry Rogers was the great-grandson of the Commodore Perry who opened Japan to commerce, grandnephew of Captain Oliver Hazard Perry, famous Navy officer in the War of 1812, grandson of the superintendent of the Naval Academy, and the son of a man killed fighting Indians 6 months before Cal was born. In August of 1911, with just 90 minutes of training from the Wright brothers, he won $11,000 at the Chicago Air Show by flying more than 24 hours in 9 days. Now he was competing for William Randolph Hearst's $50,000 prize for the first person to fly coast to coast in 30 days or less. His airplane had 2 propellers driven by one 4-cylinder engine. He sat upright without seat belt or windshield, protected only by goggles. For each mile he flew advertising Armour's soft drink, he was paid $5. He took off from a racetrack in New York and survived crashes of various kinds at his first 4 stops. He became the first pilot to take a plane into a thunderstorm and survive. He called the experience similar to riding through an electric gridiron. The Hearst Prize was already gone by the time he reached Missouri more than 30 days after takeoff, but he promised to finish the flight if canvas, steel, and wire, together with a little brawn, tendon, and brain, stick with me. He refused to fly to St. Louis because the city refused to pay him $1,000. Instead, he crossed the Mississippi near Louisiana, Missouri, headed for Mexico, and landed at Thompson near Columbia to fix a spark plug and add fuel. He canceled his landing in Mexico because of the fences at the fairgrounds and the roughness of the field. He circled the town a few times and headed on to Marshall, where the airplane had never been seen before. That flight from Springfield, Illinois to Marshall set a new record for the longest distance flown in one day, 235 miles, and his total distance since leaving New York reached 1,434, breaking a record set by Harry Atwood of St. Louis to New York flight in August. In Higginsville the next day, people climbed onto the roofs of almost every business building hoping to see the plane. Rogers circled twice and went on. Whistles blew a few minutes later at Higginsville so people could leave their homes and jobs and schools to see the plane fly over. The Odessa newspaper called the flight over that town a red-letter day in city history. He had to make some minor motor repairs at Blue Springs before flying to Kansas City, where schools were dismissed so students could see him become the first plane to fly over that town. About 10,000 people were waiting for him when he landed at Swope Park. Bad weather found Rogers on the ground for 2 days. The record he set on the flight to Marshall was broken later when he flew 265 miles from Veneta, Oklahoma to Fort Worth, Texas. Finally reached Pasadena, California, November 5th, 49 days after the start, but after only 82 hours and 4 minutes in the air. He crashed on the way to Long Beach a week later, demolishing the Vin Fizz for a 5th time. It was rebuilt, and on December 10th, he taxied the plane's wheels into the surf at Long Beach. He won nothing from Hearst. The money from Armour Foods had gone for rebuilding the plane after crashes. Only 2 pieces that started in New York made it to California. The next April, in a different airplane, Cal Rogers crashed into the surf at Long Beach and was killed. The newspaper said in Marshall, the flying machine is already indispensable in some use, and plenty of people will be found to man them no matter what the risk. Cal Rogers and the Vin Fizz brought excitement, awe, and a new era to thousands of people when he arrived in Missouri on that history-making leg of his historic flight on this date, October the 10th in 1911.
That was Across Our Wide Missouri with Bob Pretty. To listen to show archives, hear about this day in Missouri history, and learn more about the Show Me State, visit MissouriNet.com.
Taking a look at the community calendar for tomorrow for the 11th day of October, and quite a few items to tell you about. Includes the Macon County Health Department WIC voucher pickup and TB testing will be taking place at 503 North Missouri Street, Macon. For details on the services, call the Macon County Health Department office tomorrow at 660-385-4711. That's 385-4711. Also, the Missouri Veterans Commission office on the first floor of the Adair County Courthouse will be open tomorrow through Friday from 8:30 until 4:30. For details on the services, call 785-2460. 785-2460. Coming up on Saturday, the Deborah Seward Sapp Memorial Cancer Benefit takes place at McMain's Auction House on Potter Trail off of Highway 6. The event starts at 5 o'clock, dinner at 5:30, raffle and auction at around 7, karaoke to proceed. They are still looking for donations and volunteers. Call Greg at 660-221-7913 or Liz at 360-202-7569. And coming up a week from this Wednesday, the Kirksville Area Retired School Personnel will meet at the Kirksville Country Club at 10:30 that morning. For more information, call 660-341-9161. That's 660-341-9161. Now turning our attention to the weather forecast. And looks like isolated showers and thunderstorms in the weather picture for today, at least a possibility. However, no severe weather is expected at this time. And then looking at the extended forecast, beginning with tomorrow and lasting through Sunday, isolated storms will again be possible on Wednesday as a cold front moves through the region. Again, no severe weather is expected. A cold high-pressure system will settle south across the region by Thursday morning. Early morning lows will be into the mid-30s. Will likely bring the first frost of the season to portions of north-central Missouri and far northeastern Kansas. So keep that in mind if you have sensitive vegetation that is outside at this point. For Columbus Day, a slight chance of light rain between noon and 2 today. Otherwise, partly sunny skies. Afternoon highs in the lower 70s. South winds at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. Slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this evening. Greater chance of rain after 1 a.m. tomorrow. Mostly cloudy otherwise with lows in the mid-50s. South winds at about 10 miles an hour with wind gusts up to nearly 20 miles an hour. Rainfall amounts less than a tenth of an inch possible, except higher amounts possible in areas of thunderstorms. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, a little bit warmer with highs in the mid-70s. South winds at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. Wind gust up to 20 to 25 miles per hour. Chance of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow night, especially after 1 a.m. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, lows around 55. South winds at about 10 miles an hour. And then for Wednesday, rain and thunderstorms throughout the morning hours, ending by early afternoon. Mostly cloudy otherwise, much cooler. Highs in the low to mid-60s. South to southwesterly winds at about 10 to 15 miles an hour, shifting to the north and northwest in the afternoon. A few clouds for Wednesday night, lows in the upper 30s. Sunny skies Thursday, but cool temperatures nonetheless. Highs around 55, lows in the lower 40s. Mostly sunny for Friday. Highs in the low 60s, lows in the lower 50s. Saturday, partly sunny skies, highs of 75. With a 30% chance of showers for Saturday night, lows in the upper 50s, partly sunny for Sunday, highs in the mid-70s. That's been the latest in news and weather information for this Monday, October 10th, 2016. And that wraps up this edition of the Show Me Almanac. I'm your armchair news reporter and presenter, Joe Hafner, with you, saying that my time is up. Thank you for yours.